time to abandon ship.
Oh no!
Here we go!
Can I persuade you to join us for a drink? It's a tradition.
Here, here.
Jar Jar, homie, my main man, quickly. Before the Separatists attack, get into the escape pod.
Hey! This is escape, then we're the pod.
Welcome back to Star Wars Escape Pod. I'm your host, Josh, and we have our friends Kirk and Blake joining us in the Escape Pod today to break down Andor Episode 6. So, that being said, let's dive right into this, shall we?
Now I made it through the weather. Better days are gonna get better. I'm so
Another happy landing.
All right, welcome back to the podcast, Blake.
Yes, thank you. Always good to be back.
And Kirk, welcome back, man. You missed a week, but good to have you back.
Hello there. It's good to be back.
Hello there. Yeah, so this series, I mean, we're at the halfway point, which is a little nuts to think about because I feel like this show literally just came out. But then again, I was like, oh, I guess we got 3 in one day. So, it's gone
that
quick.
throws it off.
Yeah.
'Cause I almost feel like, because I'm used to 8 episodes, it feels like we've also had a lot of content.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
feel like there's so much more to go.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what's even more crazy is in 2 weeks, Tales of the Jedi comes out on Disney, so we'll have overlapping
man.
Star Wars shows. Yeah. October 26th is the premiere date for Tales of the Jedi. So I'm really looking forward to that. I don't know about you guys, but that's on my
I'm so keen.
Yeah.
Should be good.
The
'cause
origins of Dooku and
Yeah, that's right. That'll be cool. I'm pretty stoked for that.
Liam Neeson's son playing a younger version of him as Qui-Gon Jinn.
Oh, I didn't know that. They cast his son
Really?
for the voice.
Yep. They cast Liam Neeson's son as a younger Qui-Gon Jinn voice. So I forget his name, but that's who he's playing. I was like, wow. I guess he must be a good voice match because, I can't imagine anyone better. It's like verbally, it's like someone just telling me Liam Neeson's son is playing a younger Qui-Gon. I was like, sold.
I mean, he knows his dad's voice pretty well, I would hope.
Yeah. I would definitely hope so. I got a little voice clip, a little piece of dialogue that I want to just like kick things off with for this particular episode. It was actually on This Week in Star Wars. If anyone subscribes to the Star Wars YouTube channel, you probably would have caught this, but it's a little kind of a rare piece of insight from Tony Gilroy, who is like the kind of producing, directing, screenwriting guy behind Andor. So let's just take a listen.
You have a long history of working on spy thrillers, Rogue One included. How do you take those elements of intrigue, espionage, and a noir sensibility and translate that into the Star Wars galaxy?
This is a chance to do a show about the ordinary people of this galaxy and the pressure that they're put under by these sort of tectonic revolutionary pressures that are being put on them from all sides. The people who are ignoring it and been ignoring it and trying to ignore it. You got people who have been fighting it from the beginning. You got people that are being dragged into it against their will. You got people that are coming into it for theoretical reasons, and you got people that are coming in for revenge. That's what's fascinating. Thrillers are always people under pressure. But what's great is all of the outer problems, all of the outer pressures that weigh down on people expose all of the other problems that they have and heighten all the problems that they have in their lives. And in a thriller, that's the buy-in from the beginning. I can't imagine writing black and white. I believed in every villain I've ever written. You really got to believe in them. You got to love them. And you got to know why they're doing it. And you got to feel for it. And there has to be a reason for it. You got to get behind everybody.
Thank you, Tony.
All right. Well, that's a little interesting piece. I was like, hey, well, let's play that because, I think it's really important for, a writer of a Star Wars show to just know what they're doing with the villain, because we've seen what happens when people don't know what they're doing with the villain, and it doesn't turn out great. So yeah, I mean, I thought that was great. But what I thought was also really fantastic is that he mentioned that this is kind of a rare opportunity to give a little bit of insight as to people, just average, everyday people in the galaxy, which is something that Blake, that you mentioned last week when we were talking about just kind of general stuff, like this random rebel guy in Hoth. Like now I'm thinking a little more deeply about like what kind of backstory he's got, because we're starting to see a pattern of like everyone's got their own rebellion, and that just kind of keeps coming up now in this show. So I thought that was like a perfect thing to say.
It's giving them a lot more individuality, right? Of like everyone who's there has a reason. It's not just Rebel Trooper number 4.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Well, let's start with breaking down this episode. I mean, it's the third. It follows in the pattern of the last 2 story arcs, I want to say, very much like a Clone Wars-esque thing to do. Every 3 episodes is a story arc, and the third one being the finale to a story arc, which is kind
like
of nice.
two episodes of story, the 1 episode action.
Yeah, exactly. So being the third,
So if you guys have friends that get bored, like with stuff that's too slow, would you tell them just watch every 3rd episode?
Oh, it's hard because there's so much content in the other episodes that build up to the ones with action in them. So
I agree.
Yeah, I really enjoy how we have those at least pause in episodes where it's not big action spectacles, because it gets you a little bit more deeper inside the mind of the character. What their motivations are, how they feel, what their beliefs are, and everything. So I think it's good. Like, I think that's one of the hardest things in any type of like feature film. You have to rush through everything within 2 hours. So I enjoy it, and not everything needs to be fireworks and big explosions every couple of minutes.
No, I agree with that. I do wonder if it's worth spreading it out a little bit more. I mean, I get that they're trying to build up the drama to the big events, and I do like that, but not everyone likes shows the same as me. I feel like that might need to throw in just a little bit of action to each episode. Might make a difference. The previous episode, the closest we got to action was the guy found out and almost started a fight, and a TIE fighter flew over. So
yeah. And like the TIE fighter flying over, I feel was a good example of that, because like there was not that much action at all. But when it flew over, it was so tense compared to everything else happened in the episode. So now I have a bit more of a understanding and feeling about what it's like to have a big oppressive TIE fighter fly past compared to them being not as much so.
Yeah, that's a great point, because when at least I don't know about you guys, but like when I watch Star Wars, like I'm so desensitized to seeing TIE fighters flying around getting blown up. But I think this was really the first time that a TIE fighter kind of did a flyby, and I was a little nervous. I was like, like what's it gonna do? And there's just one, but it was just like the context of that stressful, like, oh, he could shoot us if he gets any ideas, thinking that we're not supposed to be here or whatever, and then it was just like tension's gone as soon as he kind of whizzes past. But
and I like what they did with the sound there as well, because it's like straight out of World War II, and you hear the fighter planes coming, right?
Oh yeah, great sound design. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, amazing visuals and sound design so far on this show. I mean, the scope and scale of this one is. It's kind of telling Mandalorian to take a seat. Take a seat, Mandalorian. But yeah, I mean, this it's doing great so far. So this episode it had Andor say something really interesting to Karis, who's the younger guy on the team. Wears the hat, very passionate rebel, very much a believer in the cause and everything. And Andor says that the Empire doesn't care enough to learn. I guess in retaliation to, people's uprisings or whatever. And it just kind of, again, it just goes back to those things that we just bring up in almost every single episode now, where they're treating the Empire very, very well in this episode. They're putting it into character, into perspective for a lot of people who might not fully realize why the Empire's bad, because Star Wars is a very kind of in a non-negative critical way, two-dimensional in a way that there's good and there's bad, right? And that's always been George's thing, is like, this is a story about good versus evil. So, you know, I'm not saying that in a bad way, but this show really gets into like kind of Tony Gilroy's like goal of like, he doesn't like to make stories that are just so black and white. He likes to really make it in the gray. And I think like that adds a whole lot of new opportunity to add like a new perspective on different things. And, you know, you start to get people's individual opinions about like the Empire, and like, cause you know, it's their ruling government, right? And it sucks and it's oppressive, but like it's still kind of like that's why they're rebels, right? So like it's been really interesting for me to like kind of like see all that stuff. It's really cool because like only Clone Wars ever really got that deep in terms of like addressing the politics of Star Wars on like a much deeper level. Yeah.
Yeah, it really reminds me of, I remember there was this one interview, I think it was with George Lucas and James Cameron, where George was explaining how when he was making the original film, it was really about big establishment commercialism type or organization like the Nazi regime, for instance, and comparing that to like rebel fighters. So I found that really fascinating, and I think that at Andor, out of even a lot of the movies, does that the most. And whether that was their intention or not, I feel that at the most, at least. And just like the simple scene, like the TIE fighter flying over, is the most amount of nervousness I've felt whenever I see like an Imperial starship fly over, never showed before. So it's really, really interesting.
I think it's really calling to what Cassian was saying earlier, where they're really, the Empire is just fat, and they have so much power and strength.
Yeah,
they just don't think anyone can overthrow them. So
fat and satisfied. Yeah,
they can't even be bothered to try, because they think it's like nothing could possibly go wrong. Right? It's like Rome. Rome never thought it could fail until it fell apart from the inside.
Yeah, it's quite literally fat and satisfied. Like in this episode, I was waiting to hear that quote, because that was like my favorite line from the trailer.
Yeah,
when he's I'm jumping ahead, but when he's trying to put on his belt, I'm like, that's literally literally fat and satisfied.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Too much turkey dinner for that guy.
We should do a supercut and put that on the YouTube channel. Yeah. Fat and satisfied. And they cut
They're so fat and satisfied.
Just trying to get his belt on.
Yeah. That'd be amazing. The Empire has set up comfort stations to deter the locals from coming to this big event, which is this giant meteor shower. I forget the name of it. The Eye, sorry. And Lieutenant Gorn has been on the site for 7 years. That's a long time. And in that time, he's come to serve the rebellion, I imagine. And he's definitely grown to despise his boss, who... you know, at the end of the episode, you definitely get that feeling when he kind of says it to his face. But I mean, I thought like the first thing there, Empire setting up like these comfort stations to deter people from, they're almost like lightly kind of, you know, preventing or giving them reasons not to come, right? Not to come to this place that they plan to like flood or whatever the plan is, you know. I guess it's not super important, but yeah, like,
it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
You said like when they left, there was like 10,000 and like 60 people made it or something.
Yeah. It came up a few times though. Like it came up when they were kind of looking over at the scenic, you know, coast and from the window of the base, and one of them kind of posed the question like, oh, do the locals, do they even know that they're not going to be able to come back here next time or whatever? And I was like, yeah.
That's the Empire, though, right?
Yeah.
They don't care.
Yeah, they don't care.
I'm surprised they let him go there in the first place, to be honest with you.
Yeah, for sure.
There was so many moments where I thought that the leader of that, was it the Adani clan? I can't remember what the tribe is called, but the local tribe. I thought he was going to turn around and start some fight or something. It was tense, but then they're obviously a peaceful tribe and they just wanted to do their ritual, but I got that feeling a lot of the time.
It was funny that he was being insulting, and then Gorn was translating, and he just like makes it up, like just like totally doesn't translate at all.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, and then the guy got real pissed off. He couldn't do anything.
When they're having like their blanket ceremony, like trading blankets or something. Yeah. I was actually kind of surprised that the Empire took part in that. Yeah, were either of you guys kind of surprised, like, oh, they actually kind of give a damn, like, just like let's actually like have this lead officer guy like bring down a blanket just for the heck of their whole ceremony, when in actual fact, like, they don't care two hoots, like they're gonna wipe that whole thing clean. Like, why bother, right? Like, why are they doing this?
It almost felt like, for me, like they didn't really have cameras in there, but it was like a PR stunt. So like all the Empire takes a photo opportunity and say, look how caretaking we are for local tribes throughout the galaxy, and they send it back to Coruscant, and they post all over the news and stuff. So it looks like they're doing good for the. I don't know. They didn't have cameras there, but that's what it.
That would have been a really great angle, actually, if they had someone kind of purposely documenting it for like the propaganda side of it, kind of like Mockingjay Part 1. When there's that. It's a bit more of it's a slower movie in the Hunger Games series, but when they have Katniss kind of doing her thing purely for the propaganda of the rebellion, like they could have had a moment like that for sure. Like, I love that idea. Just like have an Imperial propaganda person, just like, all right, now stand here. All right, yeah, okay, now give him the blanket. Capture the photo. Yeah, all right, we'll send this back on the Holo News or whatever.
Yeah, and then they just took the blanket and then burnt it. I didn't know if that was part of the ritual, or they were just mad.
That's what I got. Was they're upset at the Empire. They were pissed off. They're like, we're not taking this gift, and threw it in the fire.
Yeah, because like the quote I have that the guy said was, "Tell him our ghosts have strong hands and long memories," which like I guess indicates like that they're going to come back and punish the Empire for all the bad things that they've done to their tribe. And then like he translates it to be, I can't remember, but he translated it like, we're really welcome that you are here with us, or something. and then the leader gives him a look like, that's not what I said.
Yeah,
exactly.
Oh man. So this Tamarin guy who's on the rebel cell, he used to be a stormtrooper, and loves to give orders and stuff like that. And I thought it was pretty interesting feeling in the room when there's a bit of hesitation on Andor's face when he looks over and goes like, oh, really? Like, he's just kind of like interested in this idea that like this guy leading this rebel cell, like, on the mission used to be a stormtrooper. And I think there's definitely a lot of questions that are posed kind of like just at that remark. But, I thought to myself, I was like, okay, well, if someone didn't really know anything about Star Wars, like, and then this came up, and it's like, oh yeah, that guy used to be a stormtrooper, right? I think like the best way that I would probably describe it to those people is like, other than the comparison between them and like a Nazi soldier, would probably just be like they're the evil face of the Empire. Like, outside of Star Wars, like whenever you think of the Empire, like, I don't know about you, but I always think of just a stormtrooper helmet. I got one right here behind me. Like that's just kind of the face of the Empire's military and like their enforcement, and like they've got hundreds of thousands of, if not millions of them across the galaxy, right? So it's just one of those things that I think people in that galaxy just don't look fondly upon stormtroopers at all. Like they're not quite the grunts, but they're pretty close to being the grunts, right? I think Solo was a grunt in that Battle of Mimban when he had that the mud trooper costume. I think those are the real grunts, but the Stormtrooper Corps is quite gruntish as far as a job in the Empire goes. You don't want to be a Stormtrooper.
It was interesting, and I think that's really getting to the gray that we keep talking about, because now we're seeing the Stormtroopers as people, right? Because they're people who signed up to serve. Yeah. They're not like clones or anything.
Yeah, exactly.
And I really thought, I know we brought this up a previous episode, so I want to bring it up again because it seems like really fitting that this happened. This is how I wanted Finn to be portrayed.
Yeah, that's a fair comment, because I know like Finn didn't get enough attention, I feel like, in those movies, and it still makes me kind of sad that he was just marketed. I know John Boyega's a bit sad about it, that it was marketed in a certain way and then just kind of let people down a little bit. Kirk, do you have any opinions on that? Like on John Boyega, like when Force Awakens was being marketed, and you saw posters of Finn with the blue lightsaber, the Skywalker saber and stuff. Like, what did you think about the character?
Yeah, I mean, my most specific memory about Finn was that final shot in the second trailer where like he looks like he's facing Kylo, and although I didn't necessarily think that he was going to be like the next Jedi and lead character, it was pretty clear that was going to be Rey's role. I definitely wish that we more so had an arc about Finn's character like we did. I've forgotten the character's name, but the ex-stormtrooper in Mandalorian that had that sit down talk and talked about was it the mission in Battlefront 2, Cinderfire? I can't. Operation Cinder.
Yeah,
that's
Operation
right.
Cinder. Yeah.
Yeah, I really wish we saw some more PTSD and backstory for Finn, which would have made his whole character arc been a lot better and everything. But in the end, he kind of just started screaming Rey all throughout the whole the last two episodes. But like, I still really enjoyed his character in episode 7.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely could have seen a bit more from him. But at least the biggest takeaway I'm finding from these stormtroopers in Andor compared to a lot of the other films is that we see stormtroopers from the perspective of the common man versus our heroes and Jedi, which makes them feel a whole lot more threatening.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, and more like people, because I mean, stormtroopers, like in the perspective of the Jedi, or just as viewers of like the Star Wars films, I don't think we all really kind of identify stormtroopers as a person. Like, it's just like, oh, that's just another mindless drone.
Yeah.
Cut him down.
There's some cannon fodder.
Yeah. That's a great point, though. So posing as troopers from Alkenzi, probably a post on that planet somewhere, the rebel cell infiltrates the base. Vel and Cinta use the service ladders on the bridge, and the meteor shower kind of begins. Amazing visuals for this meteor shower.
Oh, wow.
So cool.
Yeah. It's funny when they first mentioned it, like 2 episodes back. I'm like, that's what went through my head. Was like, I wonder what that's gonna look like. That's be really cool.
Yeah. It must be
payoff.
something like this like whole like suspenseful, like this big thing that people show up every 7 years for, right? Now I know why.
Yeah, because for me, like I only watched the first Andor trailer when it came out like 6 or so months ago, so I really forgotten most of what it looked like. So when I was thinking like, how on earth are they going to amaze me? Because I've seen, you've seen it all. You've seen all all those great sequences out there. But when it came up, I was like, wow, this is, and a bit of a hot take here. I think it's one of the best looking Star Wars scenes visually of all time.
Yeah,
that's high praise. That's very high praise.
But that's not of characters and stuff. But yeah, it looked beautiful, especially as they flew up past the into the sky and everything. It looked so good.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. Yeah.
When do you guys buy the idea though that they can get up there and maneuver around these asteroids?
Oh, probably not.
To be honest, when sorry, I'm blanking on his name now. Karras, is it? When he's giving the directions on his manual compass, if you want to call it that, I didn't understand anynything. Like,
how
I was
that
like,
works.
I don't know how that like. What? Vectors. Like I kind of understand the idea of like traversing in a certain direction on like a three-dimensional vector. Yeah, I understand that, but I'm like, how can you kind of know what to do in terms of like avoiding the meteor shower? Like I don't. Yeah. I thought that
they're supposed to get out before that point happened, right?
Yeah. So like. Which like getting out of a planet is just simple as like just going up, right? So I didn't really understand the whole like this thing is kind of guiding them through this meteor shower when the whole plan in the first place was to escape before that happened.
Yeah,
because that device had nothing to do with avoiding the meteors, right? It was just to get them out of there.
Exactly.
I was almost expecting Andor to be like that cliche where people give equal readouts and they go in English, please.
Yeah. No, I don't know what it was about that thing, but I don't want to say that it was just there to give that guy purpose in his last moments, but it kind of felt like that. Like it just I don't know. It didn't really cut it for me, but yeah,
that's good. That's good at least. Like I thought it was a good little tidbit at the end to add a bit more, I guess, substance to Nemec's character.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's true. I'm curious to find out. Oh wait, he died. I was wondering if he's going to be a cripple though. That would have been interesting if they like did that and then we see him like in a wheelchair later.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering that myself, whether or not we'd see some cybernetic version of him in the future. Because like I know that doctor guy showed up in the trailer, and I was kind of wondering who that might be. But yeah, I guess they decided to off him. So a lot of the crew dies in this episode, where I think that's Gorn, Terramin, Nemec's insides and legs are crushed, like when the ship kind of takes off and that massive honking metal crate kind of just slams into him. Then
it's unfortunate.
Yeah, Terramin and Gorn were killed in action while doing the robbery, and then finally Skeen, which Skeen was an interesting twist at the very end of the episode, who we came to kind of sympathize with him last week when he revealed all that information about his brother and kind of why he joined the rebellion and all that stuff. And now it turns out that this guy is just this swindling pirate that's just like joined a rebel cell to heist the empire, only to like steal the goods and like take off, you know? And I was
it
like,
was a good twist though.
dang,
I
was not expecting that at all. Yeah.
Because he seemed like the most righteous one, right?
He
At
also
least from
seemed,
the argument we got.
yeah, and he also seemed like the most hesitant to trust Andor. And when in actual fact, I think
because
someone
he knew
who's that
he was a bad guy.
Yeah. Well, and like someone that devious, though, I would think that he wouldn't care, just because he has got his own agenda and his own plans. He's probably just hoping more that no one else finds out about his plans, rather than like this new guy popping up last minute. Like, I have no idea, but I don't know. I thought that was all very took me by surprise kind of thing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it reminded me of that scene in Rogue One where Andor just shoots down the guy with the arm because he can't climb. Yeah, like this guy's brutal. He's a hero. And he's like the main character we're supposed to root for, but like, he's just killing people. But when I first saw that scene, I was shocked. But there was also a very, very small part of me that thought, maybe that's like Skeen's final test to see. So maybe he was doing a double reverse bluff.
Yeah.
It's like he was just trying to tempt Andor to run off with the credits and see what he actually wanted.
And then
he gets shot. So like, I highly doubt that was the case. But imagine if it was that. That's
a great point. And you know how funny it would be, though, if he kind of like Andor went inside the tent and what's her name? Is it Cinta or no? Sorry, the other one. Carrot. No. Vel. When Vel was in there, yeah, she's like, did you pass the test? And he's like, wait, what? You mean the dead guy outside that tried to steal the money? He wasn't. He was just an actor. Like,
that would have been awkward.
Yeah. So
actually, speaking of Cinta, what happened to her? Was she just stayed on the base?
Yeah,
I was really confused.
She strapped on Imperial officer disguise and went to go watch the rest of the show, and that was kind of where it left it. So maybe she's just kind of maybe her plan. I don't know. Everyone's got their own thing. I found like a lot of people are on a need to know basis in the rebellion, so maybe she's got her own kind of plan that she's now supposed to be an inside person. Like maybe she's going to stay in uniform and just pretend to be an officer for the rest of the show or something.
But she managed to leave and get to the hospital planet, or she was on their ship, right?
She was at the area where all the locals had gathered to watch the eye or the meteor shower.
Oh, I'm getting the two ladies mixed up. That's why.
Yeah, so there was Vel, which was she was the person that actually went into the tent, and then Andor came in with the gun, and then Cinta stayed behind, I think.
Gotcha. Yeah, because we never saw what happened to her, so she must still be there.
Right. So I guess I don't know. Maybe her story will pick up in another episode, or maybe we just won't see her again.
Spin-off. We'll get some sort of junior novel.
Yeah. Cinta Star Wars story. I feel like you could kind of like roll that into any character, and it's just kind of kind of funny.
Yeah.
Imagine explaining that to the casual Star Wars fans. Like, you remember Rogue One, which was a Star Wars story based off the
It was an anthology film.
And then remember Rogue One, and then remember Andor. So from Andor from Rogue One, that was his Star Wars story, and then remember Cinta from Andor from Rogue One from that's her story.
Yeah.
It's like roots coming up from a tree.
Yeah.
You remember that character from that show that acts as a prequel to the Star Wars prequels, which also acts as a sequel to the prequels?
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, what?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I follow that.
Yeah. Not many people can. I applaud. So yeah, Skeen's choice. He's in it for himself. So we see that obviously some people working, on behalf of the rebellion is actually almost like just in for themselves. Like there's obviously some selfishness going on there, and in other fictional worlds that we've seen, from the likes of Middle Earth, or you name it. There's usually a story that a character can go through that they're the deceiving one, right? And I think selfishness and greed is like a common attribute to pop up a lot in both Star Wars and other stories as well. I mean, that's the Sith's whole thing is greed, right? Like they're hungry for power and they're just out for themselves. And so it's a simple thing, but I thought that was just a really nice kind of it was a nice twist. And it didn't feel out of place for a Star Wars story at all. Like it was very in line with just a common kind of evil attribute that we see in a villain a lot. So, but also giving it to us in a new way. The ISB prepares for retaliation. Did you guys, either of you, kind of catch anything at all that was going on in that meeting room with the ISB? The head guy is kind of like, tell your families you're not going home. I want every retaliation plan and star system something or another on my desk tonight kind of thing. And I don't know, is this in response to the heist or is
That's what it seemed like, because they didn't really allude to anything else. But
yeah,
because I feel like they would have got a delayed response because they blocked all communication and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it must be after that or finally gets through and then they're calling into action. But I question how big of a deal it is for one planet's payroll compared to all of the Empire itself.
Yeah, I think it has to do with the heist because, just the scene just beforehand was, or maybe it was just afterwards, was Mon Mothma in the Senate. She was kind of reacting to looking at the news and everything. But also, I feel like as well that they went onto this big all hands on deck staff meeting in an emergency format, because this is probably the first time the Empire has been hit by any type of rebellion. That I can't remember. I think it's Deidre Miro. I'm looking at the character name from the ISB. She was the one that had an inkling thought that there might be a rebellion out there. And obviously this is kind of proof towards that. But I feel like, again, the Empire being so fat and satisfied, they feel like they're untouchable. This might be one of the big, big first
the eye-opening moment.
Heists.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
And that could be why all the ISBs kind of scrambling to do something, because they know they need to make an example of them, right? Or else people are going to start to think the Empire is weak and maybe not all that they've been led to believe.
Well, and to put it into timeline context, I mean, this show is what is it? It's 5 years before Rogue One, and that means that it also takes place before the Rebels animated show. So we don't really have a whole lot to go off of as far as rebellion activity goes, other than what we saw in Kenobi, what we've seen in Jedi Fallen Order, and what we're getting in the Bad Batch. And between those three things, any kind of rebel cell, if you want to call it that, doesn't really exist, officially, right? And they haven't really done anything big enough to kind of get the Empire's attention, unless it's a Jedi or some clones going rogue, And it's this is the first kind of big thing in 15 years, ever since the Empire's taken over so far, that we've had in a story that's like, oh dang, someone just like thwarted the Empire, you know, like who the heck would do that? So you know, that's kind of like, you know, that's a great point. So it's like timeline wise, you know, this might be the eye-opening moment where we start to realize like, hey, there's an actual rebellion that's coming together, you know, like people are rising up. This is what a reckoning looks like, you know, to quote the first episode or the third episode it was.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like this is also the first episode that gave me a sense of like scale in currency too, because like I think one of the ships they quoted was around about 30,000 credits, and then the heist was an amount of 80 million credits. So obviously it's a bit of money. So imagine like someone, I guess imagine someone stealing $80 million from like a local bank or something like that. Like it would make it'd be a big deal.
Maybe a lot. I was curious what that is in Star Wars currency value though. Like if you were to like, because we know the rebels, they end up with like the Mon Calamari like battle cruisers, right? So like how much does it cost to buy a ship of that scale? It's got to be
a lot. Yeah,
I don't really know. Like,
yeah,
like I'm just curious how far 40 million will stretch the rebels. That's what I'm wondering.
Well, how much did they get?
40 million.
40 million.
I think it may have been 40 million a piece. Was that what Andor and?
No, I said 20
right.
wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe. I
Yeah.
can't remember. A lot of money, a lot of credits.
Yeah.
Well, we know that it costs about 15 to 20,000 to buy a ship because, you know, based on what Luke says in A New Hope. So
Yeah.
we can almost buy our own ship for that.
Yeah.
In this episode, he offers 30,000, and he says that's twice what it's worth.
Right.
Yeah, true. I guess maybe 15,000 is like what you could buy a small car for in
a used car.
in reality. Yeah.
So you know, it's a lot of money. I mean, you can definitely buy a whole fleet of X-wings or something, you know, with all that. And it's obviously Luthen's happy about it because we see how happy he is at the very end of the episode. You know, the joyous kind of like on his face, you can just see it. Like he didn't expect it to get pulled off, and it's almost like he's got like this hopeful feeling. Like, I don't know, it just ended on that mark for me. I was like, oh, he's got hope again. Like just last week, he was like stressed out in that episode, super worried. He just put the faith in the wrong guy. And it turns out that this was the right guy all along. He even like killed the guy who was planning on stealing all the money for himself. And, you know, now the rebellion's got funding. So really cool.
Yeah, I felt for him. I felt a sigh of relief because this was a tense episode. Like I wasn't sweating, but like it was like the whole heist scene, especially when things started to go wrong. I didn't expect it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just me.
Yeah. It was going
felt
so
like that.
smooth, right? And then just all of a sudden that guy came in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can like you know when you watch those like generic heist, I guess Netflix movies, and then you can tell when things are gonna go wrong or something's gonna happen. But everything seemed fine. The guy just walked in, and then I was like, he's not supposed to be there.
Yeah. You guys
They
have
tried to play it off pretty well, I thought, with Warren like trying to give him commands. The problem was his boss man there next to him looked pretty frazzled from hauling all the credits.
He was pretty fat and unsatisfied at that point.
Well,
yeah, for sure.
we look forward to a lot more fat and satisfied next week when episode 7 comes out. And I have no idea what to expect. Do you guys have any kind of hopes or speculation as far as what we're going to see? Kirk, we can start with you.
Oh, I'm not too sure. I think we'll see maybe Andor and Vel link back up with Luthen, maybe on Coruscant. We should see that. Luthen reminds me of Frasier, from like the old like 90s TV show. So he's a really rich guy. So I think he's going to have a lot more of a involvement there. But we're 6 episodes in. We've got another 6 to go. And
Man.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, like when we're watching the first 3, you can kind of see where it's gonna go. But like now I don't know what's going to happen. We'll see what they use the 80 million credits for, I guess.
Yeah.
A big pizza party. I think Kirk's right in that I think Luthen's going to be a big deal in upcoming episodes here. I think it seems like Cassian has decided he's got his money. He has nothing to do with Rebels. He's leaving. Mm-hmm. So I think Luthen's going to reach out to him and try to get him to join the cause. 'Cause I think that's probably what the next 6 episodes are going to lean towards. They're trying to get him on board.
Yeah, because I guess Andor, he was very hastily given Nemec's manifesto, which is like a declaration of motives and intentions, right, on behalf of the writer. So it's almost like he was basically handed like the believer of the rebellion's like rule book for like, I guess, why he's a rebel and why the Empire sucks. So
Start next episode, he's gonna join all those, the tribe. He's gonna throw it in the fire pit.
Yeah. Yeah. No, maybe this journal is kind of gonna be the reason as to why Andor will join the rebellion and be a believer himself. So
yeah, that's a good point. Seems likely. There's a MacGuffin there for sure.
Yeah, it was great chatting with you both, and I guess we'll catch you in the next one.
We'll see you out there.
See you then.
Keep flying.
All right, and to those of you tuning in at home, thank you so much for joining us this week on Star Wars Escape Pod. Big thank you to Kirk for coming back, and our co-host Blake. It's always great chatting with everyone who joins us on the show, and we're looking forward to the next episode. We got a quick message here from Captain Rex.
Public forces have deemed Star Wars Escape Pod as the recommended source for news and entertainment. Subscribe, leave a voicemail, and share the show with a brother.
Oh yeah, that's right. Share the show with a brother. Share Star Wars Escape Pod with your friends. Send them a link. Tell them you can find it on any podcasting platform across the galaxy. And definitely check out the Discord. Email as swescapepodcast@gmail.com. Check out the Twitter, Instagram, which is at swescapepodcast. Feel free to leave us a voicemail at the SpeakPipe address, which you can find the link in the description, or just send a voice recording on an email. We would love to hear from you guys. And definitely tune in next week for episode 7 of Andor, which we're over the hill now, over the halfway point. So we're going to see the first episode of the next story arc, which will probably carry through for the following 3 episodes. That being said, I guess we will... drop us a 5 stars, and we will catch you in the next one. May the Force be with you.